So, you know how you love a TV show and it's supposed to be mindless or a guilty pleasure or just something you watch in the background? It's been fun. And that's basically how the TV show on Bravo, the reality show, The Real Housewives, across all the franchises has generally been. And it's been that good. And then all of a sudden, Orange County, 20th season, you're thinking this is going to be big. And the season itself is just trickling along, not doing much of anything. And beyond that becomes more of a question like, okay, is there bad behavior with some of the cast members? And in a way, you always knew exactly what you were getting with the TV show like The Real Housewives of Orange County. But it does beg the question, like, are Vicki Gunvalson, Shannon Storms Beador. I always call her Shannon Storms Beador for some reason, not just Shannon Beador. Shannon Beador, there is the door. Nonetheless, are they rude or are they doing exactly what they are supposed to do, which is be too real? Like it's about being real on a reality TV show, but then the behavior just continues to be frustrating and in times where like everything is a bit difficult, the energy of being spoiled doesn't necessarily make sense. But Vicki seems to have a little bit of that, and Shannon definitely is the most when it comes to the Real Housewives of Orange County. So the cast itself, Real Housewives of Orange County, are they rude or are they too real? Now that's not for everybody. Obviously, Heather is wonderful, and as is Gina and Emily, and there's been cast members on season 2, season 10, season 14, all the seasons. It's been kind of an up and down, but on the 20th season, you would expect so much more. And for some reason, it's like you're getting so much less with this particular cast. What are they doing right and what are they doing wrong? And are they being rude or are they being real? So some of the things that came up on The Real Housewives of Orange County is right off the premiere episode. Vicki Gunvalson, she's in Puerto Vallarta. She, of course, loves Puerto Vallarta, has done lots of scenes there over the years. In her mind, she's put Puerto Vallarta, I guess, on the map in her mind. But the scene that felt a little spoiled and not necessarily rude, but definitely, like I said, spoiled and entitled or whatever the case is, she said to the camera, she said, look, I've been going to Andale's, this bar, for years and years and years. She even goes on to say when she's not there, like if she's in Orange County, let's say, that everybody at Andale's is like, where's Vicki? Where's the Vicki signature cocktail drink? Like in her mind, like nothing moves without Vicki, right? And I think to a degree on a TV show like this, a reality TV cast member, there should be a little bit of an inflated ego and think highly of yourself or be obnoxious in a certain way. But she says with the most earnest mindset, she goes, I've been going to Andale's for years and years and years. And in fact, I put them on the map. And I was talking to management and the ownership, and I wanted to kind of partner with them. I wanted to be in on the ownership. And they said, no, thank you. You're not needed. And she said with the most complete conviction and ego that you would ever have, she says, well, I put Andale's on the map. And while there is definitely a marketing sensibility, like if a restaurant or an establishment welcomes you, you can also have an expectation that they have to give back to you in a certain way. Like it's kind of like doing a favor for somebody and then saying, well, I did that for you. And then you get resentful about it later. If Andale's was there in Puerto Vallarta before Vicki, it's going to be there after Vicki. Should they roll out the red carpet for her? Yeah, I assume so. But to have that expectation is just a bit wild. Now, Shannon's is a little bit more because Shannon says she's doing the interview on the Jamie Kennedy podcast, and she is saying that she would always do these epic, huge TV reality show scenes that got a lot of attention for the restaurant in Orange County, The Quiet Woman. And she was getting frustrated that they were getting ready to celebrate the 20th year anniversary. I think it was around the Newport Film Festival, and around the Newport Film Festival, everyone was there, including Andy Cohen, which is, the executive. And it's not about like, who is Andy Cohen? Should we roll out the red carpet because it's him? It's more so saying, in Shannon's mind, he's an executive of a show. This show happened to create wonderful marketing for the establishment, for the restaurant, for years and years and years. And she felt offended. So she's telling Jamie Kennedy, we go to the Quiet Woman, everyone's there, and we thought that we would get comped or drinks or appetizers, and they didn't do any of that. They were going to give the full bill and sort of put Andy Cohen in an uncomfortable situation where he has to pay for it. This is what she's saying to Jamie Kennedy. And I mean, first of all, like, he's probably paying for it with the company card, so it's not really an issue to begin with. And even if he was paying, I mean, it's Andy Cohen. If you are an executive of a show and have all the, not that he hasn't earned it, I guess, but like on the basis of this show that has employed tons of cast members and production, but you're at the helm of that, and you're celebrating like the 20th year and these epic scenes from this establishment, a mom and pop restaurant, no less, not a chain. I think he would have gladly paid. But the point was, as far as Shannon goes, is that how dare they even think about not comping the meal? Like, as if, again, it's like that thing. It wasn't like the restaurant said, hey, come film with us. Unless they did. I don't think they did. Come film with us. When a restaurant is around and they are the hot spot in the neighborhood, which evidently Orange County, the Quiet Woman, was always, a very prominent place to go. And just because you bring your cameras and it's a TV show, yeah, they should be grateful, and I'm sure that they are, but the expectation that how dare somebody from the network have to pay when all we did for you. I think with Shannon, when I was watching that interview with Jamie Kennedy, one thing that he did is he nudged the right words. He was right there nudging her along, and she was almost right in a sense, because she was saying, we have done a lot in a marketing sense, and these days marketing is bigger than ever. That she made a lot of sense, but her delivery is where I think Jamie Kennedy, of course, pushed her along and nudged her to say these things. But I think her explanation is what really brought out sort of a really uncomfortable side of her, where you do kind of see that balance between, if there's a cast member, I think they should have that self-worth and they should have that like ownership of value. Like, sometimes you do have to stand for yourself. But when you start talking about yourself or Andy Cohen or the TV show, like, we did all this for you, and it's just like one of those things. It's like she's a lady that's on a TV show. She's not like, she's not a medical professional. She didn't cure cancer. She's not a talented, singer, or, somebody who has a wonderful talent or a skill set. She's literally a woman on a TV show who brought the TV show to act with bad behavior, and therefore we all laughed and liked it, or whatever the case. It is supposed to be mindless in that way. And to make it anything bigger, it is a little bit, I think, I struggle with the sentence, but I think it is a self-inflated ego that Shannon Beador, coming from season 9 into season 20, like, she's might be drinking the Kool-Aid in terms of how big or how important she is. She's lovely on the show for sure, but this might be a moment where she has to redefine and redirect as to what her I don't want to say storyline or brand is, but like, maybe she's just a little bit lost. She's older now. She's empty nest syndrome type situation, where it's kind of like, where is her happiness? And it seems like the grumpiness is shining through a little bit more. All in all, I think it is a difficult show to do, or difficult to be, in Shannon's case, in the public space for so long, because what ends up happening is, I think this is just me thinking for like a Vicki or a Shannon, in terms of why, when they get a wonderful critique that could actually be beneficial, like, hey, maybe tone it down. Maybe you don't have to say disparaging remarks over a restaurant, an establishment that isn't a chain that's trying to do their own thing. And by you saying negative things, like, that doesn't help their business. Maybe you could like tone it down. I think what happens, this is something to think about. they'll do a show and every episode will be picked apart in so many different ways. And let's say you do 15 wonderful things. Well, because of all the feedback, you're going to get such a critique, and you start having a really difficult time with knowing what critiques make sense, because you can't make everyone happy at all times. When I did radio all those years ago, as I always talk about, we had these things, this was like the early 2000s, we had these things called a radio air check. So the difference between, what I'm talking about is anyone who would comment or have a critique on the radio show, they were welcome to do so, but you would take it in stride because they weren't necessarily the people in the management and the programming department, the brand manager who was doing the air check. So you would take the advice and the critique in a different way from the people that actually knew the business and were sort of protecting, of course, their brand and their business, but also you as well. And I think one thing that Bravo and these reality cast members don't have is they don't have anyone they really can trust, or even not about trusting, but even like they don't have the right people to like, wait, maybe was I out of line? Because they're getting it from so many different angles, even when they do great stuff. So what they need is like people around to say, well, that's worth exploring. And I feel like you end up becoming hardened in a certain way, like a Vicki or a Shannon, where you're like, almost like kiss my ass, because you're getting critiqued, even if you go, do something beautiful and charitable and lovingly, you've like done it wrong to somebody, because someone always has an opinion. So I think you have to have that difference. And I don't feel that Bravo or the production company or the network like comes to the ladies and kind of pulls them back, because if you did that, then that bad behavior, which makes good, compelling TV, it kind of stops. So in one way, like I said, when I did radio, we had that ability where, like, at the end of the day, they cared about how we did radio. They cared about how we represented the radio station. Whereas because a reality show is all about mess in some ways, who's going to really ever come to a cast member and say, hey, we got to really watch that? They're kind of like, let the camera go and let's get more footage and let's get more compelling TV. So I think it's very important for Shannon to like be around the right people, like her daughters or her best friends, maybe people that are staunchly in the business, or maybe people who are completely out of it, to know when to step in and say, what you said, that was pretty lame. Like, that was actually on the rude side. But anyways, Real Housewives of Orange County, it doesn't seem to have a boom that they thought that it would, but it's a long season and there's a lot of off-camera antics for sure. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that always comes along. Vicki with her daughter and her son and all of the stuff, and how she always feels about being an empty nester herself. It's like always so much. I think the show will do good. 20 seasons is incredible, but it's not hitting as hard as I think they expected it to. There's like a lot more like rude behavior, I guess, than real, keeping it real. Like, I want to have a side of me too, where you could look on the other side of things and say, well, if you make a show that's supposed to be fun and a little all over the place and messy and reality TV form, like, you also can't then expect, like, okay, you don't want your cast members or the network to have the cast members walk on eggshells either, because then you'll never reach that peak of fun. Like, specifically thinking about it like this, is it bad behavior when Vicki screamed, like, do you know who I am? And I don't want to go in a family van. Like, can you believe it? And she's yelling. These are the scenes, Teresa on Jersey flipping a table. These are the scenes that are essentially bad behavior that were like really celebrated because it was mindless and it was fun. And you just have to keep that in mind too. So I feel like every cast member who's doing the show, yeah, they get a ton of money, but it is hard, I think, to balance a lot of this stuff. And sometimes you have to take a beat, and you're just going constantly. And I think essentially at the end of the day, the Real Housewives or BravoTV or reality TV in that matter is gonna find its footing. It's just sometimes you do the same type of show and you have to adapt in certain ways, and they're not really adapting. But I think Orange County is great in general. Heather is always so fun, and they want to put her in the box of being pretentious. It's a good show. Tamra, found ways to get under your skin and then have variety and duality to her from the beginning when she started to now. It's pretty cool, and it goes to a time too. It makes you think of like, gosh, where and how different things were when this show was a mindless, silly reality show that had a bunch of cast members having a great time and trying to figure it out post a certain age. A lot of them, even me, I'm in my 40s. It's great to see Vicki. Is she over 65 years old now? Like, you just don't get to always see that experience and some of the things she's trepid about and nervous about and happy about, and her relationship with her kids. It's all pretty interesting. And so maybe the show could make some changes and some adjustments, but it was just the question, like Vicki's comments, Shannon Beador's comments. Oh, and then Shannon also got mad at Heather McDonald because Heather McDonald was like making fun of her in a way, but it was still just funny and mindless. And then she took it very defensively. It was basically saying that Shannon is staging a lot of her like goofy, this is Shannon and I'm falling on the ground. I'm so silly. And it was just jokingly, that was it. And it was saying essentially there was no storyline. And Shannon took such a grumpy energy to that too. So I feel like maybe Shannon could use all of this and say, I am a woman of a certain age. It's hard to age, obviously. She's empty nest syndrome. Her daughters are living the greatest parts of their lives, and she's trying to like figure out and find herself. There was the season where she would talk about her weight and, her looks and stuff like that. Me in my late 40s or mid 40s, like I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, I keep trying to eat nothing but, cucumbers and little like, avocado salads. And yet you just look weathered because you just get a little older. And even that's difficult to do it. And in the mindset of like Shannon, doing it on camera, doing it for a TV show, high definition, that could be her brand. I think she's been trying to do something and give the audience something that at this point she is not. But yeah, Real Housewives of Orange County, what do you think of the show? Is it 20 seasons and it's time to wrap it up, or do they have 20 more seasons to go?